the global banking system is collapsing. It's a controlled demolition. They're trying to do it in a way that instead of just letting, let's say, the various sovereign bonds collapse down 50-60% in a week, they're trying to do it 2 or 3 or 4% a year. But they are defaulting now. Now it's the trend of 2008 is back in place, and these banks are imploding. And they no money printing, no matter how much, will stop the implosion.
Thanks for watching this RTD interview. Don't forget to pick up your RTD Scary George round, only available at SDBullion.com. Now enjoy this interview. Welcome to another RTD episode. Today I'm excited to have first-time guest, Mr. Max Keiser. He's an commentator, and news personality, investor, you name it. So Max Keiser, welcome to Rethinking the Dollar.
Yeah, man, my pleasure, Mike, for having me on. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Yeah, thanks for joining me. And so I want to dive into a variety of things. I know you're a busy man, and so you're currently in the city of Detroit. So as I mentioned, looking forward to meeting you tomorrow. But I figure you're on here. Now, what concerns Max Keiser right now? A lot of things are happening. The economy's imploding. Markets are failing. What concerns you the most right now?
Well, I guess it's the opposite, really. I'm relieved that the primary trends that we've been talking about for 10 years and really going back to the history of our podcast, going back 15, 16 years, the primary trends of a bull market in gold, silver, are back in place. The global economy is suffering from the fact that it's become this huge Ponzi scheme, global banks and central banks colluding in this enormous Ponzi scheme that's now imploding. Bitcoin has been obviously an unbelievable skyrocket for 8 years, 9 years. So it's good. I mean, it's back into our wheelhouse. So we're getting a lot of really good positive feedback. A lot of people are saying, hey, you guys predicted all this years ago. And a lot of people are now coming back to the Max and Stacy view of things.
Right. Now, what's the chance, in your opinion, because, I've been a follower of yours for quite some time now, and everyone's always been predicting that day of reckoning where the markets would tank and everyone would come to the truth. But for some reason, the Federal Reserve has always been able to string this thing along. And so, what's the likelihood that they got some more tools in a toolkit that can prop things up just a little bit longer?
I would say the chances are zero, because negative interest rates, and now you've got 16 trillion in negative interest rates. That is a default. So these sovereign bonds are defaulting. It's a soft default. So the global banking system is collapsing. It's a controlled demolition. They're trying to do it in a way that instead of just letting, let's say, the various sovereign bonds collapse down 50-60% in a week, they're trying to do it 2 or 3 or 4% a year. But they are defaulting now. The credit squeeze of 2008 was met with a wall of money, $16-17 trillion of fiat money to try to keep the banks alive. It failed. Now the trend of 2008 is back in place, and these banks are imploding. And they no money printing, no matter how much, will stop the implosion. So it's on, it's on. That's what gold is telling us. Despite all of the efforts to keep the price of gold down, they can't do it anymore. Gold is breaking out. Gold's going to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 an ounce. Silver's going to $50, $60, $70, $100 an ounce, because this is it. This is the second part of the crisis that started in 2008.
Yeah. Now, part of that crisis is the fact the majority of the population is not prepared for what's going on, because they've never bought into the narrative of the system is rigged against them. And so a lot of people are basically their life savings are in the G-SIBs, the too big to fail banks. And so Deutsche Bank right now is tanking, and I think their share price is around 6 euros a share, which is unheard of. And so how problematic will this banking sector be? Because the majority of the population are in those banks with their deposits.
Well, we've always said only keep money in banks that you're willing to lose. We've always said that. So Deutsche Bank probably is the next Lehman Brothers. And we've been saying that now for 2-3 years and following the stock price down. Oh, I just see Stacy. She's come in to the room here.
So I said, hello.
And I think you got to own gold. You got to own Bitcoin, as we've been saying. And I think the U.S. banks are probably better positioned than the European banks. So Citibank and other U.S. banks have built a huge, cushion over the past few years. So they might escape the carnage, but certainly banks in Europe and in the UK are extremely vulnerable.
Right. Now, what's the likelihood that, President Trump, he's the only president that I've ever known of that uses social media as opposed to the mainstream media. So what's the chance that this whole trade situation is ironed out, or do you think this is a cover up for something grander, or what?
No, I don't think there's going to be any ever trade problem solving, because when Trump came into office, he started essentially a period of what we call neo-mercantilism. It ended 40, 50 years of neoliberalism and globalization. And that was global coordination among central banks, policies of monetization and monetarization, or monetization, where global interest rate policies are coordinated. And that's finished with Trump. So now it's back to mercantilism. So this is back to every country for themselves. They're not cooperating anymore. And again, that's why gold is going up, because some countries are smart and they're hoarding gold, like China, Russia, two primary examples. They've been buying hundreds of tons of gold. They're readying their position now for this neo-mercantilist era. So there won't be a trade deal with China. China is, and America are now in a Cold War.
Now, okay, so with all this going on, of course, you mentioned gold and silver. The price around us, and especially referring to here in the United States of America, has gone up significantly. You're predicting that it's going to go up very heavily in the near future for here citizens here. Now, what happens to the Federal Reserve note, the dollar? I mean, the dollar reserve currency at this current moment, the world needs them to do business with. What's going to happen with all those dollars?
Well, gold is already hitting new all-time highs against a lot of currencies around the world, including the British pound. But also, if you look at it in Brazilian real, it's up dramatically, like 4x in the past few years. It's hitting new highs against 10 or 12 major currencies, all-time highs. Only lagging really in U.S. dollars, and it's creeping up on new all-time highs against the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is world reserve currency, and a lot of countries need the dollar to settle trades. So there's a demand for dollar because it is the reserve currency. But I think that what will really punctuate this era of neo-mercantilism is when a couple of countries announce that they have a gold-backed currency or a partially gold-backed currency, and then dollar will collapse.
So as far as the nations that are going to position gold back into the monetary system, do you see it being China, Russia, the nations that have been hoarding the most gold over the last several years, it seems?
Yeah, absolutely. I think China, Russia definitely are going to come out with a gold-backed currency. They're building the new Silk Road, the One Belt, One Road initiative, connecting all their territories in Eurasia, Asia. And so, yeah, gold-backed currency is coming. And these countries are very well positioned for that. The United Kingdom very foolishly sold half their gold under Gordon Brown. We made a film about it. They sold half their gold, 300 tons. They're now one of the weakest countries in the world because they sold half their gold. And they did it under very dire circumstances. They didn't do it for any strategic purposes. They did it really as a favor to Goldman Sachs, if you look at the history of that. And Gordon Brown is really, really shameful.
Wow. Now, we all know that Max Keiser is real big on cryptocurrency, and you believe that's a part of the future. And so I think just not long ago, you said 100,000 Bitcoin by 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Are we still on course with that, or could that, be put off a little bit or go beyond that, given the fact what's happening all around us?
I never gave a date.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to 2011, I predicted $100,000 for Bitcoin. And that's what we're on track for. So when that happens, it doesn't really matter to me. I just keep stacking sats cents a dollar. So I don't want to get in the game of picking a date, because that takes the focus off the important thing, which is that people should just stack sats and not try to trade. Trading is almost always a losing game for 99% of anyone who tries to day trade or pick tops, pick bottoms. It never works over any length of time. Even hedge funds, there's no hedge fund has a track record of beating the market consistently for more than just 2 or 3 years. Most hedge funds never outperform the market. So don't try to time this market. Just stack sats every day. Every day, stack sats.
Sounds good. Now, Max Keiser, you're in the city of Detroit, my hometown. So just want to, what do you have planned for Detroit? Where do you plan on being, going to see, things like that? What brought you to Detroit?
Right. So Crypto Blood invited us here. We put together a show for tomorrow night, Friday night. Starts, I believe, at 5 o'clock. There's, if you go to Crypto Blood's Twitter feed, there's a link to the event. I think it might be sold out. It's a free event, but I think they're out of tickets, even though, but you know, but come by anyway. Might be fun. So that's why we're here. Detroit is a big fan base for the Keiser Report. We have a lot of fans here. And from here, we're going to go to Baltimore and do a show. And so that's why we're here. Plus, I've never been to Detroit. And so this is great. You know, this downtown rejuvenation looks like it's going very well. You know, it looks like things are happening here.
Yeah, definitely. Make sure you get a chance to go down to the Riverwalk right off the river there. It's definitely a beautiful scenery there. So, well, once again, Max Keiser, I appreciate you taking time to join us on Rethinking a Dollar. Definitely look forward to, hope you get a chance to meet you tomorrow night. I'll also be at the Crypto Blood event. So for those that are watching, I'm going to post this today. If you can't make it out tomorrow to the Grand Circus in downtown Detroit, feel free to do so. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Once again, Max Keiser, thanks for joining us on Rethinking a Dollar.
Thanks, Mike. See ya.